Here are books that have been adapted for TV or film coming soon. First up, I'm going to mention two that are just about to come out at the end of August and one that is currently out just now and can be watched. The first one, and no surprises, is The Thursday Murder Club. That comes out in Netflix. I think it's the 28th of August, pretty much this week. And I am so excited. It features Helen Mirren, Pierce Brosnan, and loads of others that you'll recognise. So if you haven't read book one in The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman, it pretty much follows four amateur sleuths. They live all together in a retirement village. They have this club, comes together on a Thursday, and they talk about cold cases. But they find themselves in the midst of a real life murder investigation. And honestly, it's giving me like Agatha Christie Knives Out vibes, and I'm so here for it. I've seen trailers, the production looks amazing, and I plan on downloading it so I can watch it when I'm on holiday next week, because this is just going to be prime viewing. The next one is a book adaptation from 1981, which I've not read, so now I kind of want to source an old copy so I can read it. You may have already seen the original adaptation. So the book, The War of the Roses, not to be confused with any sort of historical War of the Roses, English historical fiction, non-fiction. This is a book by Warren Adler, basically following a wealthy couple who are going through a divorce. It gets mega toxic, which escalates as they basically fight between each other for their home and belongings. So the movie featured Michael Douglas, Kathleen Turner, and Danny DeVito in 1989, and this is a new adaptation. Comes out in the cinema in 29th of August, this week also. It's just called The Roses, and it features Benedict Cumberbatch and Olivia Colman. I don't know how I've only just discovered this. I only learned about it like last week. This was not on my radar. So I believe, so if you've seen, or maybe you haven't, because it was 1989, if you've seen the old version with Michael Douglas and Kathleen Turner, it is pretty dark. It gets pretty toxic in it. So it's maybe more of a dark version of this one, which looks more comical than like nasty, dark, toxic divorce vibes. So I'll probably not go to the cinema to see that. I'll wait till it comes on streaming to watch that. But yes, I'm very excited. I now really want to read the original book, because I'm like, oh, what was this? Hope it's not like what happened when I read the book Jaws. Less said about that, the better. No offence if you love it. I didn't. Anyway, and then currently streaming, and I haven't watched it yet, I've got it saved down on my watch list, is The Institute, which is based in Stephen King's book. Now, I think this is streaming just now on, it's HBO in America, but Prime, I think, in the UK. I think the final episode just dropped last week, so I've not watched any of it. I was waiting for it all to be out. And if you've not read The Institute, it's not really horror per se. I would say dark, thriller, supernatural, in that it follows a young teenager who wakes up in this place, the Institute, that is filled with loads of other kids like him who have been acquired in the same way, and they all share unusual abilities. So that's all I'm going to say. It features, I had to write it down actually, Ben Barnes, Joe Freeman, and Simone Miller. I absolutely recognise Simone Miller. I can't remember where from, but you'll recognise her face when you see it. So that, friends, is TV I'll be digging into very, very soon. If anybody's been watching it so far, let me know in the comments what you're thinking of it. So those are the two sort of coming very, very, very soon. Then I've got a mix of stuff that's kind of coming November, December, early January. There's one or two I might drop in that the release date hasn't been announced, but I was like, oh, I didn't know that was coming. Next is another Stephen King, and this one is from, technically, I think maybe one of the first books he wrote, but not the first to be published. This one was published in 1979 under his pseudonym Richard Bachman. It's The Long Walk. It comes out in cinemas on November 7th, which is my birthday month, so I think that might be when I go and see it in the cinema. Because in the very rare occasion I go to the cinemas, it's got to be a Stephen King film, hasn't it? Well, this is a dystopian horror novel that's set in an alternative version of the United States. I think it's a totalitarian regime, but this actually could just be present day and not really alternative. Anywho's. The plot itself revolves around the book title, The Long Walk, where 100 men take part in an annual contest where they have to keep walking at a like minimum pace of like, I don't know, 4 miles an hour or something. So, and they're being escorted by the military. And if any of the men drop below the minimum speed for 30 seconds, they get a warning. After 3 warnings, that's 2, isn't it? After 3 warnings, they're shot and killed. So I've actually not read this book, so I've just added it to my Amazon wish list to remind me, because I think I'd quite like to read it before I see the movie. The trailer looks amazing. Stephen King's very happy with the film, I suspect, because he keeps sharing it on his social media, so that gets me very excited. And in addition, I believe at some point next year, there is an adaptation of Cujo, terrifying, coming out from Netflix, I think. And there's also another adaptation of Carrie coming out, maybe Prime. I can't remember where that one's coming out. But Carrie and Cujo are new adaptations coming. I think there was a Cujo adaptation. Anyway, for me, with regards to Carrie, you can't beat the Sissy Spacek one, so jury will be out. Then also in November, I can't not mention Wicked, the final part. Now, I've not seen Wicked, the original, because I'm not a massive fan of musicals, and I read Gregory Maguire's Wicked back in the day, like possibly late 90s, early 90s, and it's much darker than I am led to believe the movie is. So I've kind of just left the movie there, but I know loads of people love it. And if you're a big fan, you'll already know this comes out on 21st of November, I think. And the final part is called Wicked for Good, I think. Now, what I would say is if you like fairy tale retellings from a completely different angle and you don't mind them a little bit dark, definitely check out the book. I adored it back in the day, and I think I've got the other one, which is like Confessions of an Ugly Stepsister, which hasn't been adapted into anything. But yes, Wicked fans will already have this set in their diary, I have no doubt. And you can let me know if you plan on going and seeing it. Then we have a thriller, a Ruth Ware thriller, which weirdly my mum is reading. She's only 25 pages in, so when I was doing research for this, I was like, better get reading this book. This comes out on the 10th of October, and it's a TV series from Netflix, and it's it's The Women in Cabin 10, and we have Keira Knightley, who's the other guy, Guy Pearce featured in this. So I read this book. I'm not going to lie, Ruth Ware is a bit of a hit and miss for me, and a lot of the times a wee bit more miss than hit. The Women in Cabin 10, I enjoyed, didn't love, but I can absolutely see this as a great adaptation. So we follow the main character. I can't remember her name, but she's played by Keira Knightley. And she's a journalist, and she's on this idyllic cruise. One of the many reasons you will never get me on a cruise ship. Okay, this stuff can happen, even though it's fiction, right? And in the middle of the night, she witnesses another cruise guest being tossed overboard. She obviously raises the alarm, and she's been advised that she didn't see what she thought she saw and she imagined it. So epic gaslighting vibes. she is determined, despite the fact that nobody believes her, to prove that what happened actually happened. So there is the premise. So did I say already that comes out on Netflix? It's the 10th of October, and who doesn't love a right good thriller? Talking of thrillers, I confess, I have never read a Frida McFadden book. Not for any specific reason, just haven't. But now, I might be wrong, so Frida McFadden fans, let me know. Is The Housemaid her first one? I'm not sure. I know it's one of her popular ones, but this comes out apparently on Christmas Day, aka the 25th of December for anyone that doesn't celebrate Christmas. This one's an actual cinema release on Christmas Day. Well, it certainly says US, but normally in the UK it's pretty similar, if not exactly the same. So this features Sydney Sweeney and Amanda Seyfried. Is it Seyfried? You'll recognise their faces. I think Sydney Sweeney plays the main character, who's called Millie. And Millie lands a job as a housemaid for a wealthy couple, the wife of whom is played by Amanda. I think the character's called Nina. And the character's husband's called Andrew, and he's played by Brandon Sklenar. I'm so rubbish at pronouncing names, apologies. So she becomes their housemaid to this very wealthy couple and soon discovers that they're harbouring a dark secret. That's all I know. That's all I know, because I think I might have to read The Housemaid before watching this. And also do love when kind of unreliable, twisty, dark thrillers kind of come out in the kind of winter months. Great TV, although I'll either go to the cinema if I hear good things or wait till it's streaming. Back to November, we have TV adaptation, Guillermo del Toro. I can never say his name right? So, but you know who I'm saying, right? Del Toro. That comes out in November on Netflix. I think it's a TV series. So firstly, we have Del Toro. And then it's featuring Oscar Isaac, who plays Victor Frankenstein, and Mia Goth. I mean, director, actors. This sounds like a delightful combination to me, if I'm going to be honest. And apologies, Frankenstein is by Mary Shelley, who still blows my mind. I think she wrote that when she was about 18 or 19. Still absolutely blows my mind. So I am very excited. I think this feels like autumn, winter, gothic vibes that I will be ready for when this comes out. Plus, I do love Del Toro's storytelling. Top notch. I think visually it should be blooming stunning. So then we have in January, to beat those January blues, there's a couple I have noted down. One is The People We Meet in Vacation by Emily Henry, which in the UK, I don't know if elsewhere, it was called You and Me in Vacation and not The People We Meet in Vacation, but I think the adaptation is called The People We Meet in Vacation. It's a lot of vacations. So this features John Blythe and Emily Bader, and they play the two main characters, Poppy and I can't remember the other character's name. So I have read this Emily Henry. It's not my favourite Emily Henry, but I only have one favourite Emily Henry, which is Beach Read. But anyway, that's a me and Emily Henry issue. This is a rom-com, friends to lovers kind of idea. So Poppy and the male love interest, sort of, well, not at the start of the movie, they're basically besties who've gone on holiday every year for a week together for like forevers. And that kind of stopped 2 years ago because they stopped talking. And then Poppy reaches out because she thinks that they should just reinstate their holidays and, you know, resume their friendship. And that there is the premise. So I think if you love sunny-based rom-coms, this would be up your street, especially in the depths of winter. Another one I'm going to share by an author who I've only read one book of, Verity. I think that's been adapted actually, but like much later in 2026, 27 or something. I'm totally guessing, but it's not coming out anytime soon. Anyway, that is Regretting You by Colleen Hoover. I'm not a Colleen Hoover fan. No shade if you are. Just not my kind of books. Obviously, the last film that came out got lots of, I publicity, let's just say. We'll not go into that one. But Regretting You, I had no idea what it was about. But it's actually, I think it's an indie movie. It comes out in October. And from a quick Google, it's basically about a mother and daughter relationship, a very complex relationship between mother and daughter. And I think it's them having to navigate their relationship in the aftermath of the death of the main character, Morgan's dad, and obviously the mother's husband, I think, unconfirmed. I mean, father of her child at least. And that features Alison Williams. So yeah, one for Colleen Hoover fans. It is Regretting You. I can absolutely see the cover, which hopefully I've put here. Next, I adore this author. I didn't love this book by this author, but out of my book group that's been going for like 20 plus years, everybody in my book group loved this book, bar me. So I think it's a me thing. I think it's more the topic than the author or their writing style. It is Hamnet by Maggie O'Farrell. This comes out at the start of January. And if you don't know the premise of Hamnet, don't listen to me in respect of my not enjoying it. I think it's more the type of historical fiction wasn't for me. It's basically a fictionalised story of William Shakespeare and his wife and the death of their son, Hamnet. So the actors in this playing William Shakespeare is Paul Mescal, and his wife is played by Jessie Buckley. I suspect, given the love for the book, there'll be a huge love for the movie. And if you're really into historical fiction and like all of these, if you haven't read the book, now's your chance to get reading before you see it. Or is that what, I mean, I like to do that where I can, although there are instances like Jaws or Battle Royale or a few, actually Bird Box, there's been a few where I've maybe seen the movie before I ever realised there was a book about it. Then last but not least, there are two that the release date is kind of unconfirmed, so I suspect at some point in 2026, hopefully early, but there are two that I really wanted to flag because one is based on a book that just came out this summer, and the other is based on a book that I really enjoyed. The first one is Peter Swanson's Kill Your Darlings. Now, this only came out, I think it was June or July this year, so it's been optioned. It's already, I think it might be in production. Unconfirmed. I've been Googling so many of these that I can't actually remember. But it features Julia Roberts and James Gray. So, this is a book I need to add to my TBR. I'll probably request it from the library so I can have a read of it beforehand. But it basically follows a couple who have been married for 25 years. They've got what seems like a picture perfect life. Beneath the surface, they apparently have shocking secrets. I'm here for it based on the fact Julia Roberts is in it, so I'm thinking this must be a good production. And who doesn't love a thriller about a seemingly picture perfect, lovely couple, but when not all is what it seems. And then the other one is coming out is, I think, maybe an Apple TV series, and that is Margot's Got Money Troubles. Yay! So this one's definitely in production, but coming out at some point in 2026. It's based on the book by Ruthie Thorpe, and see, when I read this, I think I might have got it on NetGalley. I read it ages ago and absolutely loved it. It's kind of like contemporary fiction, and we follow Margot, who she has an interesting, complex relationship with her dad. She's also in a very, would you say coercive? Well, very manipulative relationship with her college tutor, who gets her pregnant, and then he's like, going to sort that, and she's like, nah. But she ends up in a situation where she's having to be a single parent, and part of her way of doing that and to generate money for her livelihood and that of her unborn, or that of her child, is to set up an OnlyFans. This is a great book that explores mother-daughter relationships, challenges of single motherhood, expectations on mothers, expectations on women, the power dynamic of the college tutor student relationship. There's so much in it. It's funny though, and Margot, you're like absolutely rooting for. I think this TV adaptation includes Elle Fanning, Nicole Kidman, Michelle Pfeiffer. So I'm absolutely sold for this. Legitimately can't wait because I just really loved the book. It was contemporary fiction that had a really strong feminist vibe, and you absolutely rallied for Margot. And I was so excited to see that this has been adapted. Clearly, I've missed the announcements of most of these, but yeah. So there we have a whole range of books that are coming to screen very soon. Let me know in the comments, is there any that you're excited for? There'll be plenty that I've probably missed off the list, so share them in the comments too. I love to have more on my radar, and also so everybody else in the comments can see it too. So as always, thank you for watching, for liking, for commenting. If you don't already, please do subscribe. And I'll be back with more bookish content very, very soon. Cheerio!